Hey Brick Bloggeteers, and today we're going to be looking at set 71374, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now a big problem for most people is the price point of this thing. $230, and for $200 plus we've seen sets that expand out to be a lot bigger than what we have here. Everything is actually very, very much compact. And a lot of that has to do with the sheer functionality of this thing. Now, I knew about, the moving screen and the functionality inside the set. What I wasn't expecting is how much I actually enjoyed the retro technology recreation here, because especially when it comes to the Nintendo system itself, the console, it's practically a 1:1 scale model. This is true to scale. This one, the TV is a little exaggerated. We never had a TV this small that was still like a dial operated machine. So this one is probably a little off scale. But the Nintendo, you put them side by side in actual console, and you'd be hard pressed at a glance to say, that's the Lego one? No, that's the Lego one, because you really have to take a closer look. Looking at the controller, and of course this tubing is really neat because it can actually attach into the system. We've got friction locking hinge pins that actually hook into clips. And this allows for enough of a grip to stay in, but also an easy enough pull apart that you're not putting too much strain on, say, something like clips and bars. As for the controller itself, one of the coolest things about this are the decorated tiles around the pad here. These tiny little lines that you have to line up to get you that very detailed look. Otherwise, they did a fancy job at recessing the start and select buttons, and those are actually the little bar stud connectors that they've been using a lot in Clear for like superheroes to show their special powers. So it's neat to see them in a very decorative use in this particular set. Tons of printed pieces. Everything here you see is printed. In fact, this set does have stickers, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And it's done in probably the smartest way I've ever seen stickers used. So that's the controller. The console itself has, again, printing up in the front. You say the Nintendo Entertainment System, reset, stop, 1 and 2 for where the player controllers go. If we move to the side, we start seeing the composite for video and audio here, and they're the actual appropriate colors that we have seen in electronics, especially here in the US. In the back, we have the third audio, which comes in red, the power cable over here, and the whole unit has the right type of dimensions where it has slight sloping at the bottom, very square up top. Now, the thing that actually really, really surprised me is this lid. There's just this tiny little ledge here so that you can, move and open up to get to the cartridge. The way they built this, they have pieces going in pretty much every single direction just to obtain that tiny little lip there. That bit of Lego geometry was absolutely astounding to me, because I built it, I looked at it, and I still don't know how it's done. That's how complex it was. Now, the one thing that I absolutely loved is this ability to lock the cartridge down into the system, just like it did in the original console. And it pushes down and unlocks, pushes down, it locks. Had to push it a little bit harder. But it has this neat little locking system that I talk about in the article. And of course, inside we have the game cartridge, and this is where we see some of our first stickers. This is authentic to the actual build because the cartridges had stickers on them. They weren't printed. Everything else that was printed in the original is printed here. The Nintendo Entertainment System, the 1 and 2 player, the little things that say auxiliary whatever, those were printed. The cartridge was stickers. So having them on this is more true to life than I've ever seen, and that's one of the smartest things about this set. Overall, I think this is probably the closest thing that's kind of almost 1-to-1 scale. It's probably a little bit thinner what a normal cartridge used to be. So there's that little inconsistency, but it fits really nicely in there. And we have tires in the back holding in this carriage so that it actually feels right when you stick it in. It does feel like it's locking into place, and then it goes down. Now, onto the TV. TV, just like the console, impressed me with its sheer detail to the technology of the time. The various switches to go to UHF versus VHF, the little buttons and knobs and dials, and they did a really clever thing here with the channel selector. Is there's a built-in flexible hose that goes up against a gear that gives you this ability to stop as well as click. So you'll actually hear the sound as we turn it. And that's absolutely the right feel and sound of this technology of that time. You even built in a little lift arm so it stops, so I can't continue pushing it in that direction. And then when it goes fully to the other way, it blocks it the other way. On the back, again, we have the spot where your power cable would be. We have where your coaxial connection would be, where your composites would be, the back speakers, and various vents, and this antenna that can get repositioned so that we can get better reception. It's all here. And they even gave a brand that you can read at the bottom called Low Tech. Also on the back, since I was talking about stickers, we have the warning label for the TV. That was a sticker back then. Here it is again. So a good way to pay attention to the detail with stickers when it's required. Of course, the action element, there's two specific things here. We have the turn and crank, which will move the landscape forward. And this is essentially what we have as a mosaic on basically a sort of a treadmill going. And they use, of course, the details and slight variations in the landscape to interact with a clear dish right behind Mario so that he jumps at their appropriate spots. Another thing that I really like is they put in the back an extra gear that has something laying on it so that when you turn it the correct way, it moves just fine. But if you try moving it the other way, it locks up everything and gives you resistance so you can't mess up the mechanism and how it will look. Now, those of you who have seen the video know that on top, you can just remove the top panel up here. And I don't actually have one of the Marios yet, so it's kind of pointless for me to do so. But we take it off the stand. We just remove this 4x, I think it's 8 plate here, and that will give you the space that you need to scan the Mario so he knows what he's doing, and then he gets repositioned over here because on top of some of these sections are colored tiles that it will register with your Mario and say, make the jump sound, make the coin sound, make the whatever sound effect that is attached to that particular color. This was tedious over here. The speakers, just lots and lots of 1x1 plates. They do show, strangely enough, in the instructions to set them a little off. The problem is, once you get them all on there, they're really kind of hard to move and push that way. And it doesn't seem to really make a difference when you look at it. So that's completely up to you. But that's the first time I actually seen them go to that step of, here's something basic, and let's maybe twist it a bit. And then it fits on there quite nicely. Does it? Yeah, it does. We have a few plates to the left, right, and back that help you line up the base, which is what I wasn't doing and paying attention to. But if you do it right, then it works just fine. So, $230 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This was a blast to put together. And I had a whole ton of fun. Sure, there's no minifigures in here. Sure, there's no shit for me to swoop around. But for the nostalgia factor and seeing this one-to-one scale build, it is a blast to put together. Especially if you have a connection with the original Nintendo. Heck, even if you didn't, my wife got into the Nintendo Switch, and she started drooling over this set. She never even had an original Nintendo like I did. I was still stuck on the whole price point, but having built it together, yeah, I'd pick up another one if I had the funds for it. But it is definitely worth the $230 price point. So check it out. It's at 71374, the Nintendo Entertainment System.